Hi guys, today I'm going to be showing you how I make some flowers, and I make a lot of different kinds, and this just happens to be one that I actually really like, but it's one of the most difficult for me to make, so I thought I would do a tutorial on it. There are a couple of great tutorials out on this particular kind of flower already. One of them is from Rose and another one is from Lenore's Shows, and both of them are very, very good tutorials. That's actually where I first saw these flowers, was from Lenore's Shows, but I wanted to go ahead and do a tutorial on the way I did these flowers. Now, I always start out with 3 plain circles. You can use your favorite patterned cardstock, design paper, whatever you want. However, a word of caution, don't use something that's too thick. I did try these flowers with my favorite paper tray ink plain cardstock, and it just did not work. To do these flowers, you do have to kind of crumple and manipulate the paper. So if you use a really thick cardstock, it's almost impossible to do. I have just kind of a medium weight cardstock here. It's from Close to My Heart. It's just a plain cream cardstock, and anything will do. I've actually even used linen paper before, and it worked pretty well. Like I said, you can use patterned paper. I always do plain because I just like the way that I can alter it to fit whatever style I want. And what I normally do, what I think looks the best, is I'll take my Tim Holtz stamps, and I use the script stamp, and these are the Visual Artistry Urban Grunge collection, and I got these at Michael's with one of my coupons. They do have them pretty much everywhere. You can buy crafts, you can buy these. I use the script stamp, and what I do is I put it on just a block. I stamp the whole, all the circles. I use normally a black embossing powder, and they come out like this. For the sake of time, I just went ahead and did them ahead of time. Now notice there are little design pieces missing. This script is a lot thicker than these. There's even like a little smear here, but I don't really worry about that because when you start assembling the flower, you don't really notice that anyway. One thing I forgot to mention is I do use Versamark when I stamp the script. That way the embossing powder sticks to it. Okay. Now, if you watched any of my other videos, you'll know that I use my Ink Essentials blending tool. Probably incorrectly. I normally use one of the pads to use 2 colors. It's just easiest for me to do it that way instead of having to switch back and forth. I'm going to use Tim Holtz Distress Inks Dusty Concord and Milled Lavender again because I love this color combination. And what I'm going to do now is just kind of use my Milled Lavender to go over just kind of a light coat on all of my circles. And I'm not being precise about it, I'm just kind of getting the ink on there. And I'm going to do that with all 3, and I'm just going to do this pretty quickly. And this is actually the speed I do this even if I'm not recording myself. I just kind of go really quickly. I just want to get almost the shadow of that color on there. The main color I'm going to be using is the Dusty Concord, but I'm going to do that after I've crumpled them. So the next step in these flowers is to crumple them. Yes, you're just going to crumple them up, and don't worry about it. It's not going to rip unless you're purposely pulling the paper. If you're using a really thin paper, then do be a little more careful because it is easier to rip. Okay. But you just kind of crumple them up like you would crumple up any other piece of paper. Don't worry about the embossing. If you've heat set it, it will stay on there. It's not going to go anywhere. I have not really done this with ink, but I'm sure if you used a good ink instead of embossing, then it would work as well. Okay. So there, now I have my crumpled up pieces of paper. So now I'm going to go back and use that Dusty Concord, making sure I'm using the other side of my blending tool. And I just kind of sweep it over there. That way I can get the ink on the high points of the crumples. And again, I'm just doing it quickly. And I'm just kind of throwing it on there. Now you will see that you'll have, you know, some of your embossing will fall off, but it is not a big deal. Okay. So let me check my time real quickly, see how I'm doing here. Okay. Now I'm going to go ahead and assemble a flower. Now this is the hardest part. It's not necessarily difficult, rather just tedious. For each circle you're going to do the same thing. You're going to first fold it in half. And then you're going to, after it's folded in half, you're going to want to fold it in thirds. So you're going to kind of pull up that corner, leaving enough room to fold over the other corner. Okay? And they don't have to be creased real well because you are going to be unfolding them. What this does is it's allowing you to open up the flower and get kind of that ruffled, that crumpled look. Let me show you, it'll make more sense. I kind of twist this corner just a little bit. If you're using a thicker cardstock, see even this one, even though it's a medium weight, it's still thick enough that it's difficult for me to twist. I'm just kind of crimping it a little with my fingers because when I unfold this, I don't want to unfold the whole thing. I just want to kind of unfold it enough so it's circular, but I'm getting those crinkles and those ruffles of holding in that bottom. Okay. And if it's not perfectly circular, don't worry because we can actually use scissors to trim that up after we've assembled it. On the back, what I do is I kind of press that corner down, that one that I was manipulating earlier, I press it down because I don't want that corner to come undone. I don't want the circle to open back up completely. Okay. So I'm going to set that there. I'm going to take my medium-sized circle and do the same thing. I'm going to fold it into, I'm going to fold it in half, then I'm going to fold it into thirds, and as you may have guessed, the smaller your pieces are, the more difficult this step is. And for someone like me that bites my nails, it is very, very difficult because I'm having to just use my fingers to do it. And the circle is going to want to open up completely. So don't let it. You'll get more of a lollipop flower look. This is a totally different look that you're getting. And sometimes, I didn't want to show you that on camera, but sometimes I'll even use my teeth to bite down the corner if it is not wanting to do what I want it to do. Didn't really want to show that on camera, but that is a little trick you can use. Not the most sanitary, but it does work. Okay. And this one I'm just kind of having to manipulate to get it to the shape I want. And what's great about these is we're going to be able to use a big dab of hot glue and it will just tack that down. Okay, so I've got those two layers, and what I'm going to do now is adhere those two layers because I don't want them to come undone. I'm going to apply the hot glue directly to the back of this one because I want to make sure I get that glue on all of those folds that I did. You probably do not need this much glue. I am probably overdoing it, but that's just what I do. Now you're going to position that so it's in the middle. Be careful when you're setting it down. It is hot glue and it will burn your fingers. I normally have just some kind of tool to help me set it in place. Okay, so it'll dry over here. And now I'm going to take my last circle. The last circle is definitely the most difficult. In fact, I normally kind of crumple it a little bit more so that it's more pliable. Okay, fold it in half. Sorry for all the mess. Now fold it in thirds. And this one's definitely the most difficult to open because it's wanting to unfold the whole circle. But like I said, if you unfold it completely, you'll get more of a lollipop flower rather than this grungy flower. Okay. So I'm happy with that. With the smallest one, I'm happy if it just even does kind of what I want it to do. Okay. So I'm going to put hot glue. Again, be careful with the hot glue. You can use zip dry, Fabri-Tac, glossy accents. I prefer the hot glue because it dries pretty quickly, and that's what I want, is something that's going to dry very, very quickly. Okay. Now, what I do after the flower is assembled, because it is assembled, I go through with a pair of scissors and I kind of round off some of those edges because it was not perfectly circular earlier, and I want it circular. And I may cut that little piece right there. I'm not going to be too crazy with the scissors because I don't want to do more harm than good. So I'm going to go back in with my dusty Concord, and I'm just going to kind of lightly brush the edges. I'm still holding down the middle because I know that my glue is not completely dry yet. Almost dry enough that I can do this. Okay. And at this point, I would probably glimmer mist it. I'm not going to for the sake of the video because my glimmer mist is on the other side of the room. But at this point, I would glimmer mist it, and I would put a little pearl or something in the middle. You can use any color pearl you have. I happen to have just a regular pearl here. So I'm just going to put that in the middle. And there you have it, a handmade flower. And at this point you can add more ink, you can add stickles to the outside edges, you can put a gem in the middle instead of a pearl, you can put several pearls in the middle, you can use tulle in between the layers, whatever you want to get the look that you're trying to achieve. Hope you like this tutorial. Thanks for watching.